Hello. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome, welcome. Hi, Natasha.
Hello.
Welcome. So, special treat for everyone watching. Tonight, we're going to talk to a former student of mine, a very successful one, Natasha. We're going to talk about the experience we had in terms of teaching some writing strategies and kind of get into a little bit of a background here of how you use it, not just in high school and for your IB exam, but beyond that through college and beyond. So welcome, Natasha. How are you?
I am dandy.
That's good to hear. Good to see you. So it's been a while. You class of 2015, right?
Yes, class of
Okay.
2015.
Wow. So coming up here on the 10-year, that's crazy to think about that
Yes,
10-year
it is
reunion.
bizarre.
So awesome. But so kind of just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like a little bit about your background right now, and we'll talk about your high school experience here in a minute. But just go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm currently a news producer. So that means, kind of ties in. I write for a living. I spend 8 to 12 hours a day writing. Uh, I've went to school for journalism, graduated with BA in journalism, and I've been doing that ever since.
Awesome. So writing is your life, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So let's take it back to what was that 2014 when you were a student of mine, right? So prior
Yes.
to coming into one of my classes, right? What was your a little bit about your high school background, your extracurricular activities, and just like your ninth and 10th grade experience in terms of writing?
Okay. Well, throughout all of high school, I did a lot of extracurricular activities. I danced every single day, and I also was competitive. So, I was, like student athletes, I was busy all the time while also having to take my classes very seriously. Freshman year, was honestly, you're getting the basics, but you're, you know, building blocks for what you need once you go into sophomore year. So I would say the load freshman and sophomore year, as far as work and writing, is a lot less stressful, obviously, but just as important, because if you don't pay attention during those years, then when things start to ramp up, when you have to write more creatively or persuasively, or you have to form an argument, or multiple, you need to know the basics of forming that, of
Right.
forming a story or a stance. So even though the load is a little bit lighter, what you learn during those years are kind of laying the groundwork for the last 2 years of high school.
Right. So coming into 11th grade, you already thought you had a pretty good grasp on writing. Did you always know you wanted to be a journalist or like a producer of news?
Yeah, I'd known I'd want to be a journalist. So I wanted to be a journalist my whole life. I knew what college I wanted to go to by fifth grade.
Wow.
And so, yeah, writing was always, personally for me, writing was my favorite thing, and it was always my strong suit. But it came from doing a lot and practicing a lot.
Right.
I felt pretty strongly about my personal writing skills going into my junior and senior year. But that is not to say that there was no bumps in the road. You never know everything. You always have to learn,
Right.
Which is why doing stuff like this or talking to your teachers is very, very important. I know I bugged Mr. Sebastian a lot when I was a student. I bugged all my teachers a lot, but it's important to talk to your teachers, especially when it comes to writing, because it is so open and it can be overwhelming. So direction and talking to people and communication is always the best way to improve and grow.
So I got to know you in 2014. I had been already in the school, I believe, 2 years at that point. Little background that you probably don't know, but when I came in, there was two other IB teachers that I kind of replaced. They switched subjects, and I taught with my other colleague. The pass scores were 20% on paper 3. And so for those who aren't familiar out there, IB is a little bit different than AP. It's all writing. You have to prepare for answer any question in certain topics of history, but just through basically a literacy-based assessment. It's not unlike for AP History, Euro, US, World, the LEQ. And the strategy we developed was APEC because that was the one thing that we could kind of formulate around. If our kids were not good writers, they weren't going to do well in these exams. So we developed some strategies. By the time we got to you, our pass rate was about 90% on paper 3. So it definitely improved. So you didn't see the background of like the stuff that got us there, because I know coming into 11th grade, that was your real first IB experience, because we were at IB World School at that point. So and again, it's like shock and awe the first couple of days because of the demands we put on you, but kind of talk about that transition into because it wasn't just me that you were taking for IB, but all your IB classes.
Yeah. I was an IB Diploma graduate, so all of my classes were IB, apart from like gym. So yes, I will. You would think it would be your senior year, but I will say your junior year, if you're taking advanced placement classes, is probably the most daunting and the most difficult, because that's when any advanced curriculum is going to really ramp up. And also, a lot of the success of your senior year kind of gets, started your junior year. So it is a lot. I will say I definitely struggled my junior year of IB. It's so much writing, like ridiculous amounts of writing. But I mean, it's important. Writing is a tool that, again, you need your whole life and you use in so many places you may not even know. So as much as I, love hate, as much as I had a lot of disdain for a lot of the model of IB, because I mean, I think I have a really unique take on it, because when I was going to SU, I actually won a scholarship for writing a paper about why IB is way more difficult than people may realize, but it is helpful in ways that people also may not realize. So yeah, definitely very daunting. Huge shock, like you said, shock and awe. But focus junior year, and then senior year is a lot easier. I will say that.
Right.
So,
because we kind of beat you over the head with APEC, teaching you how to write an argumentative essay. What was your experience like? I mean, you could talk about some of the strategies that helped you, or if it did help you, and then how it was on the IB exam. Was there a payoff? I mean, how did you feel? Did you feel prepared for the exams? Were they easier than you thought? Just share a little bit about that, because we really don't catch up after that. It's just kind of like, okay, you did them, and then you're gone, right? So we get the scores, we never really get the debrief. So
yeah, I will say that the classes made me. I felt very prepared for the actual exams. When it came to the exam time, and as someone who isn't a good test taker, a lot of times, that was never my strong suit. I had a lot of knowledge in my head, but I did not know how to do it in a test often. It would stress me out. So a lot of the preparation that we would do in class would be basically taking the test in class a lot of the time. So once you would get to that exam, it wasn't a hurdle that was unfamiliar. It was really just kind of doing what you've been doing. And the structures that you learn in class, you can look at a question and break it away, oh, this is the part I focus on here. This is what I'm going to do here. You can, once you get to that exam over the year, you look at a prompt and it is no longer a big open, I don't know. You see the pieces that you have to tackle and where you have to put them pretty quickly. So yeah, I mean, I feel now the big, there's the exams, and then there's, your essay that you have to do. Right. That essay is a lot. I know that was a huge struggle for me. I think that was the hardest thing in the entire curriculum for me. I think mainly because you had so long to do it and you doubted everything that you did. But coming up to the exam, I felt fully prepared. And I remember being very happy with my exam scores and awesome. Doing actually better than I expected, because I remember actually sitting down, and I can't remember what question it was, but I do remember sitting down, seeing what it was, and being like, I answered this exact question like maybe 2 weeks ago in class, and just did it. So, it stinks, but the best way to know what to expect is to do it all the time.
Yeah. The practice
and that's
method.
kind of what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. So just kind of, so after high school, you got into your dream school, Syracuse University or University of Syracuse. Which one is it?
Syracuse University.
Syracuse University, right? Mm-hmm. What's the dome called?
Well, it was the Carrier Dome while I was there.
Okay.
I don't even know what it's called now. Nobody's calling it what it's called now, though. It is always the Carrier Dome.
Carrier Dome, yeah.
It will live forever as the Carrier Dome.
Gotcha. So just, you talked a little bit about your college experience, like in terms of how IB is a little bit different than AP. And I agree with you. I think AP gets you to college, but IB kind of keeps you in college, right? Just by the thought process. Both are good. Both are definitely, rigorous. But just your college experience, I mean, did you apply anything that we taught you in any of the IB courses with your college experience? Did it help you at all?
Yes, it did. Like I said, I feel a little bit of a unique situation here where I was in journalism courses, so I was writing all the time. But also, for me, a lot of my electives were literature based or history based. And the reason why is even though there were a ton of work, I knew what to do. I came out of high school and you're very unsure of most things going into college, but I was sure about
writing.
I knew how to write. I knew how to write. And so I took those classes. Not to brag, but in those classes, I would do very, very, very well because writing wasn't an issue. And writing persuasively, like I mentioned that position paper I wrote earlier, I wrote that in between high school and college, and I got a scholarship for it. And that was one essay shorter than what I had to do for IB. And so, these skills can be used if you want to, form an argument. You can also these skills are used to also vouch for yourself as a student and as a professional. So, I know it sounds weird to say it, but persuading people of your knowledge and your standing of things.
Absolutely.
I do it to this day. I'm telling people every single day what's important and what they need to know as a journalist. And while I'm not biased, I know how to say what's important and structure, writing the story, a statement, whatever it is.
Proof and explanation, right? It's all proof and explanation, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome. It's funny because I did coach travel baseball during that time, and there were some schools out in the western part of Fairfax County, some more affluent school districts than ours, kids that were taking AP classes, and their teachers spent zero time teaching the writing before the exams. And I was shocked to see that because 60% of their tests are writing based. So obviously you're using it like you shared with your postgraduate experience. So I really, really appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome. So you still use it to this day then, right?
Yes, I definitely use all my writing skills to this day, literally up to about a couple hours ago.
That's awesome. I am so pumped. I'm so proud of you about your success. You always knew where you were going, and I'm really, really happy to see you succeed. So that is awesome. I wish you nothing but a successful career.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.